Hello, everyone. This is the Revolutionary Think Tank podcast. If this is your first time here, this is a podcast about political commentary, protest music, and revolutionary thinking. My name is 4AS, and this is my co-host, MysterE. So, MysterE, how are you going today?
I am very well, 4IS. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, and we have a guest who's been on before, Kareem, who's joining us today, and he's going to go into the wonders of AI and generative AI and ChatGPT. So,
Is this the first time we've had someone on the show twice?
yes, it is.
Oh, my God. Yeah, what a mantle. There it is, God.
Yeah, so first things first, Kareem, how you going? And uh, tell us all about generative AI and being a prompt engineer. I've stumbled upon this word, prompt engineer, and I've been fascinated by it. But like,
It-
how you going, mate?
yeah.
How you been?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, hanging in there. So yeah, I guess kind of spending my days at the moment playing around with these prompts, getting a feel for what these prompt engineers do. So
And what is your main tool, your main AI tool that you're using?
look, main one I'm using at the moment is ChatGPT.
Okay.
I've been playing around with Claude as well.
What's Claude?
Ooh.
So Claude is another large language model. It's in the same sort of realm as ChatGPT, but
Okay.
they train these models in different ways, so you wind up getting slightly different outcomes. Like you can put the same prompt in two different models and wind up getting slightly different outputs because they're kind of I guess they're not sort of trained differently in terms of what they're designed to do, but the data sets that they are trained on will lead to slightly different responses. So,
And are they
the impression-
competitors?
yeah. So ChatGPT and Claude are compared. Claude's made by Anthropic, and ChatGPT is made by OpenAI.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
OpenAI makes a few different kinds of generative AI. So they've got their large language model, which is ChatGPT. They also make DALI. DALI is a text to image generator. So
Oh, yeah.
that's another form of generative AI. And the other thing that they're working on that they haven't released yet is Sora. So Sora is text to video generative AI,
No.
which
Wow.
which some of the stuff coming out of that is pretty awesome. So
Yeah. Yeah. Another
they're
game
creating
changer.
these lifelike like human videos just based off of text prompts. So like the
Far
quality
out.
of the stuff is absolutely amazing. So
Mm.
Sora's not out yet, but there's a few other different kinds of text to video generators. So Runway is the other one I've been playing with.
Okay.
And a recent one that just came out, a text to image generator, is Flux, which is sort of positioned to be a competitor to Midjourney. Midjourney was sort of the game changer in terms of the kinds of images it was producing. But I think Flux is like an uncensored version of Midjourney. So
What do you mean by uncensored?
Yeah.
yeah, this is where it gets interesting. When we talk about ethical use of generative AI, they put restrictions on the type of content that it can produce. So you can't put, so you can't make porn, you can't make like violent images and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Things along that line. Flux. I'm not sure if they've got other ethical restrictions in place, but they've sort of they've given us an
Relaxed.
uncensored version. Yeah. So I think Flux operates through X, Twitter.
Oh.
So I'm not sure if Elon Musk owns it or
Yeah, right.
I haven't really checked, but
And so something like OpenAI, just going back to what you were talking about earlier,
yeah.
who is OpenAI affiliated with in terms of like any larger corporations? I heard
Sure.
that it was associated with Microsoft,
Yeah.
and they were using their servers or something like that in order to kind of roll out this, I guess, like roll out the testing phase of this product. And
Yeah. So originally, OpenAI was a non-profit organization. It was meant to be like an AI research lab.
Yep.
somewhere along the line, they changed into a for-profit, or I think it was a capped profit organization.
Okay.
And Microsoft was one of the original investors.
Okay.
When ChatGPT took off, so ChatGPT being Model 3.5, they started attracting a whole lot more attention from investors, and Microsoft being one of the biggest investors, threw a bit more money at them to be able to enable them to be able to scale up their operations.
Yeah.
So at the moment, how it works is the main sort of obstacle to creating these generative AI models is how quickly they can train the models.
Yeah.
How quickly they can train the models depends on how much compute they have. So
Right.
the compute is determined by, I'm not sure if it's the data centers or if there's something else going on, but basically they've got like these massive centers which are like clusters of computers or GPUs.
Okay. Yeah.
That they use to train these models. So
Okay. So the training doesn't come from interaction with actual users.
no, so it's got these massive data sets
Yeah.
that they use to that they use to train the models. There is a component of what they call reinforcement learning with human feedback.
Right. So,
Right.
So
so we're not essential, basically.
look.
It's computers training computers.
Well, what made ChatGPT different was the introduction of this reinforcement learning with human feedback, because that was the first time they sort of implemented that technique to train these AI models. So,
Oh my God.
so how it works is the model produces an answer, and there's a human there who ticks, is this a good answer or is this a bad answer? Yeah. Over time, the system sort of learns what is a good response based on the feedback that it's getting from humans. And then it starts to get a clearer picture of, okay, this is the type of responses that we're going for. So it starts to tailor its responses in that direction. So that wound up being the game changer in terms of like how the models were trained and what they became capable of. So I wouldn't say humans aren't essential to the product. I don't know if.
But they're trained in an environment for a long time before they're exposed to human interaction. They're tested or in an environment.
I wouldn't be able to tell you what order they're trained in. So this
okay.
is probably
Right.
the like whether or not that happens first or it happens afterwards. I
Okay.
wouldn't be able to tell you. And I guess the selection of what data actually goes into the model is done by humans as well. So,
Okay. Yeah, because I noticed like when I first started using ChatGPT, when everyone was kind of talking about it, it became a craze. Like I was obviously entering in some controversial questions.
Yeah.
And it was just like, sorry, I can't answer that. Like, you know,
Yeah.
and like I was asking for up-to-date stuff and it was like, sorry, my database only like stops at 2021 or something like that. If you want anything more recent, you have to Google it yourself, you lazy bastard. And so I was like, oh, damn. But like, I've noticed recently it's giving me up-to-date information now. And like, I don't know if they've upgraded the system recently, but it's much more versatile than it was before. It's much more intelligible what it's coming up with. And like it's starting to give me sources now, which was interesting. Before I used to have to argue with ChatGPT to give me sources, and it's like, no, I will not reveal my sources, like kind of thing. And like it would like give you like a really vague list of where it might have pulled stuff from. But like now, you don't even ask, and it gives citations. Like it's I don't know, like it's an academic at university or something like that. And it's trying to test its credibility.
Look, I would have. Sorry, Gabe, you were going to say something?
All I was going to say was, well, this is where I wanted to get your view, Kareem, because, for work, we're going to be rolling out an AI, like, policy, blah, blah, blah. So they've basically gone to, like, all of the people in the organization, and it's like, that's it. You're going on LinkedIn Learning and you're learning about generative AI and how all of this works. And, like obviously beginnings of it, learning about generative AI, like I kind of got into it where it was like, okay, this is how it's different from search engines. It's you're talking to it and you're basically having a general conversation, and then it gives you the necessary information. But where I thought I found it quite interesting was when it started discussing non-ethical data sets and ethical data sets. And look, this could just be from where I'm coming from, but when it was talking about ethical data sets, it was like, oh, well, see, the thing is, if you do like an open source thing without sourcing an ethical data set, it could be taking, private property. It could be taking somebody's IP, and you not really realizing that, and then it's like, oh, with an ethical data set, you can make sure that you're not bringing anything inappropriate into the organization or into your generative AI. And look, I got to admit, I was initially skeptical when I got to that module, because I was like, this just seems like a reinforcement of private property rights, not necessarily pushing the bounds of where things could go.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
thank you for going there.
So I actually when you've come up against, should we use ethical data sets or not? Like, what are your thoughts and feelings about, that discussion?
Yeah, sure. If it's all right with you, I'm going to skip over what MysterE was talking about. We can come back to it later if that's okay. But no, because this is a really interesting question, and the place that we're at the moment is that the copyright laws that we have in place aren't equipped to be able to handle the training of AI data sets and how we handle the content that's produced by generative AI. So
the laws aren't up to speed.
Yeah.
So our way of thinking about this isn't even up to speed in terms of what constitutes a copyright infringement and what doesn't. Like, we need an entire rethink of how we see of how we see the training of these data sets and the content produced. And this is probably the best way to explain it. Let's say that you've got a diverse sort of interest in music, and you wind up becoming a music creator. Now, in a lot of ways, you would have been inspired by the music that you heard, and it's going to play a role in terms of the music that you create. But you wouldn't look at any of your inspiration sources and say, hang on, that's a copyright infringement. Like, it plays a role in terms of the content that you produce, but it's not a direct copy. You know what I mean? So in terms of how AI is using that, that's sort of the paradigm that I think we should be operating out of, where the content that goes into these models to train them is more like inspiration rather than an actual sort of ripping off of content. And in terms of what actually gets produced, where if there winds up being an overlap between the content that gets produced and the content that went into it, fair enough, you've got a right to sort of argue in terms of, okay, that's an actual copyright infringement. If there winds up being overlap between the content that one model produces and a different model produces, or let's say you and I are both going to generative AI, any generative AI, and we're trying to produce a piece of work. Are we we're using the same model, we're using the same inspirations, but we might wind up using different prompts in order to create whatever we're trying to create. So how much overlap is there between the prompts that I use versus the prompt that you use? And how much of a link do we want to draw between the products, because they're going to be slightly different. So this is where the waters really start to get muddy. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? Or?
Yeah, so let's go on with the artist analogy. Let's say that we need to rethink where, rather than strictly thinking, oh, this is a copyright infringement, you are copying my work. It's more that we are paying homage to the data sets that we have before us. that, you know, you're training it to train you, to train it to train you, in order to create something new, not necessarily that, you know, this is your thing and my thing. If you,
Yeah. So look, I mean that's how I see it. I get that it's probably not that simple, and I'm probably skipping over a whole bunch of stuff in the meantime. And at the same time, like the people that are producing the work, if their work is going to wind up going into an AI model, and someone else is using that to create content that they're now making money off, um, we start to get into the waters of okay, does the content creator deserve to be paid for whatever went into the model? If that model is now going to create a whole bunch of stuff based on their work, now it's a tricky question because, again, if you're inspired by, I don't know, Michael Jackson, does Michael Jackson deserve to get paid for any work that you now produce from here on in? So it's.
But like, if you are just out there to make music that sounds exactly like Michael Jackson, and you're basically ripping off his music, there will be potentially a copyright claim of some sort made against you. But like, what you're talking about here is like almost a human quality, is that this system draws upon potentially so many influences, just like a person would over a lifetime. And whatever inspiration comes to their mind at the time that they put pen to paper or strum a guitar or touch a key on a piano, and that all flows, you know, innately through their body and out of their fingers, and they create based on all of the influences from their life. Can you really draw upon any one of those data sets, those points of influence, and say, yeah, they got that exact phrase or that exact tune from this person right here? No, it's an amalgamation of everything that's ever happened in their lifetime, which is the analogy that you could potentially use for a whole, I don't know, AI model or something like that. They're pulling from so many variations of whatever, that like, how do you pinpoint it and say, yeah, this is where the copyright infringement is, and not if it's truly that's really humanizing this AI model, right?
You've definitely nailed the complexity of it, like in terms of how these things sort of play together. At the moment, my understanding of existing copyright laws is like they use the 10% mark. So, say for example, if you're creating a YouTube video and it's like or if you're reproducing more than 10% of a work, that goes into copyright infringement.
Yeah.
So whether or not that's the appropriate place to set the bar, or whether or not that could be used as a guide for how much inspiration is getting drawn or how much overlap there is in the work, how do you even gauge overlap?
Yeah. It's like when you submit an assignment at university and they have those programs that say you've plagiarized, and like the acceptable like limitation, it's like what, 10% plagiarism or something like that, or there's a mark where they say, okay, well, you know, everything is plagiarized because it overlaps somehow. So like, you know, here's the threshold. And like, I think Nyquist has even told us in conversation for us that like with music, there's like 4 seconds or something like that you can use like as a soundbite of something from another song before you really encroach into territory where someone will make a claim against you. But like even that's disputed. Like
I think it's 10 seconds actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like
Interesting.
it's interesting territory, and that is like kind of just arbitrary things that are made up by courts, and there's precedents out there, and they can be challenged and broken and rewritten into law and legislation at the drop of a hat. But like the really interesting thing that you said before is the fact that we're not up to speed with the ability of this tool to create. The laws are well behind. The conversation is well behind. So you said something interesting that I want to ask you on now. I want to know your opinion because, you know, compared to the two of us anyway, you are an absolute expert in this field. Like, well, no, like the way you're talking is blowing my mind here, so don't stop. But like, I have to ask you this question based on what you said before. You said the conversation needs to do this, or we need to start to have a conversation about this. My question to you is, do we really? Do we have to have a conversation about this? Can't we like just allow this to go? Should we be putting constraints on this?
Good question.
Tell me, please. I want to hear your opinion.
Yeah, sure. So, all right, the best place to start is what happens if the conversation doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If the conversation doesn't happen, let's say you take this podcast, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You guys are content creators. You're putting out original work, yeah? Now, let's say somewhere along the line, someone decides to create an automated podcast, something that just creates podcasts by itself, conversations between people, and discusses the type of thing that you guys are creating, yeah? Like the type of message that you're sending. If it so happens that you're putting your time and your effort into creating this thing, okay, some AI model comes along, rips off your content, and gives it to everyone for free. Do you deserve to be compensated for your time and effort?
Well, if we were to go over that sort of thought experiment, the first thing I would say is, I guess, the law of YouTube and all of these and social media platforms is whether you're producing entertainment that people like. So I guess maybe one factor that is worth considering is this AI version that has ripped off MysterE and myself. Well, the bottom line is it more entertaining than both of us?
Okay.
If it is more entertaining, then it's kind of won the war.
But you're competing on the same platform.
Yeah.
So like the level of capability, this is probably where it gets more interesting, is like the content that gets produced by AI is in direct competition with the content that's produced by humans.
Yeah.
So if the human content feeds into what the AI is producing, like how do you even conceptualize what constitutes fair competition in that, within that paradigm?
Yes. Yes. And but because the thing is, right, what you're talking about is that there's a few assumptions in that kind of thought experiment there, that we would have enough content in the ether for it to draw information from to replicate what we do. So let's say we had 100 episodes and that was enough of a data set for it just to be like, yeah, I can just produce this en masse now. And it's got enough information about how we speak and what we think about and what type of guests we have on and how many times they come on the show. And it can reproduce, the content that we make to a T, or if not better, which is what 4IS is talking about. So if there was enough data out there on us, is it fair then for it to replicate us and do it better? Well, if there's enough data out there, then, that's just how this model works. Okay. Number two is, you said, it starts making money off what we do. If it can turn a profit on what we're doing, because right now I'm making $0 on doing these podcasts, then yes, I would expect that the AI would share some of that with me, but I'm talking about creating laws around whether or not the AI should share it with me. So I don't know what the AI is going to do with those dollars. So if it wants to share it with me as a thank you, then I would happily take it. So thank you, AI, in the future. If you ever take my stuff, just give me the money. I'd be fine with that. But I asked you before, and I'm going to press you for this one because I actually really want to know. You gave us a rhetorical question that actually ended up in an answer form from 4IS, but you, as someone who knows so much about this stuff, we are standing on the edge of a brave new world here. This is the most exciting shit I've heard in a long time, man. And I spend my time talking about revolution for a living. Do you think this should be controlled? You can see the power of this stuff. And I'll tell you what the free market does, okay? It privatizes shit and it holds stuff back. Free market, my ass, okay? It's just a bunch of complicated private property laws. 4IS hit the nail on the head there. Do you think we should be constraining this stuff?
Okay. It's not... One of the trends within AI that's gaining a lot of traction. I'm not sure if you've heard about Meta's Llama. So Llama is an open source large language model.
Yeah.
And by open source, what they mean is they're not making any money off it. They're releasing the entire training data set for people to be able to adapt and shift in whatever way they want. Now, I'm not sure like how the money flows through that system. I think people, if you want to privatize their model and make money off that, you can do whatever you want with it. But they look at that as sort of being one of the ways in which we can A, democratize access to AI, B, ensure its ethical deployment going forward. In that, if there's any problems with this model, can you guys go and take a look at it, let us know, and like we'll fix it, rather than saying, okay, we're keeping the development behind closed doors, and when it's ready to go, we'll charge you for it. Now, in terms of do I think it should be constrained, I'm kind of in two minds about it, because on the one hand, the constraints that I think are necessary are like we've now, and this is where ChatGPT really sort of pushed us into a brand new paradigm. We've now got forms of AI that were designed to do one thing, or might have been designed to do a whole bunch of different stuff, but is capable of doing stuff that we didn't design it to do. Yeah. So it's got these unintended capabilities that, regardless of how much time we spend having a proper think about it before this stuff goes out, it can be used in ways, completely unanticipated ways. Yeah. Now, if we haven't fully thought through that stuff, there is the potential for some of those capabilities to be dangerous. Yeah.
You got to give us a quick, yeah, thank you. Quick example, please.
At one stage, I think you could get ChatGPT to show you how to make napalm. Like that's the danger level that we're talking here. Yeah. So
okay,
it's like it's not like someone sat there and programmed it how to make napalm.
But it found it and offers it.
It figured it out. And this is why people sort of put the ethical constraints. This is why when you were playing around with it before, it said, "Sorry, I can't answer that question."
It wouldn't, the bastard.
Because you're not supposed to ask it how to make.
I wasn't asking it to make napalm. I swear. I swear. Not this time. Not this time.
So this is like the level on which I think it should be constrained. And this is where we
really? Yeah? Like you're worried about safety?
Safety is my main issue. Yeah?
Okay.
Like that's my predominant issue. Now, there's another part of me entirely.
There we go.
Yeah. Which thinks that we're never going to be able to maximize its capability or figure out like what are the limits in terms of what it can offer us as a society or as individuals until we take the chains off. Like once we take the chains off, we're going to start to see it grow and develop in ways that we never imagined. A bit
but the
like,
chains aren't really on at the moment, or they are?
Look, I think, well, take the evolution from Mid-Journey to Flux, yeah? Like Mid-Journey was chained, yeah? Flux took the chains off, and now we've got like images of politicians smoking cigarettes and like doing whatever you want to do. Do you know what I mean? Like this is where that deep fake stuff, starts to come from.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of, whereas, if you look at, say, what's happening with Llama, Meta's Llama, theoretically the chains are off on that one. Yeah, you can take that model and you can do whatever you want with it. You can adapt it in whatever ways you want. So there's a bit of a toing and froing in terms of how constrained we want it to be. And this is what I think the essence of the conversation that we should be having needs to be covering. Okay, what kind of constraints do we want? Like, what kind of constraints are acceptable for society that still protect us, versus, all right, how far can we push this thing? You know?
Yeah.
So,
All right. Like you said some stuff before that sounded a bit like, I can't compare it to anything else than Skynet. Like we asked or designed, you said there was models that were designed to do this, and then they ended up adapting so quickly that they were able to do something else that was not the intent of the people that invested or designed the model itself. How regular is that?
look,
Like, have you come across that multiple times, or is that just an anomaly? Or
I mean, we just start seeing interesting stuff in terms of the way that people are using these models. Like, it's not, I haven't really connected with the original intentions of sort of large language model creators.
So this is what happens when you add humans to the equation. Is that what you're saying? That things start to happen, they get used for things that people couldn't predict.
Like when you add humans to the equation, like it can go in unanticipated directions. But if humans weren't a part of the equation to begin with, we never would have gotten access to these things to begin with. So, you know, what kind of humans do you want to mix?
So really, it's the humans that are the problem. It's not the AI model, actually. What we should be doing is we should be getting rid of the humans. I hear you loud and clear, Kareem. I know what you're saying.
Suddenly you're gonna see MysterE wake up in the night and like he's like, kill all humans.
Kill all humans.
Kill all
I was
humans.
having the most wonderful dream. You were in it.
I've been watching a lot of anime recently, and the
Yeah.
amount of times, like when you think about like different movies and films and series, the amount of times people arrive at the conclusion that, so if humans are the problem, we've just got to kill all of them. Like,
Well, AI will get there eventually, but we've got a bit of time until then. Okay, so like I've still got. So from your opinion, it's you're split right down the middle. Is that what I'm hearing? Like I can't twist your arm into getting a one-way, like kind of. What do you feel more passionately about?
I'm a fence sitter, man. What are you talking about?
No, come on. All right, fair enough. But like, I would like to know one day. One day, I want to get an answer out of you.
I can lean in one direction if you want. Probably leaning towards taking the constraints off. Only because my fascination with AI in terms of wanting to see like what it's actually capable of, probably overrides my safety concern.
Mate, come on, curiosity killed the cat. Like, this is what I'm talking about here, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm prime candidate for it.
Also, you've heard it here first, folks. When Kareem becomes the #1 prompt engineer in Australia, he wanted Skynet all along. So.
Prompt engineer, so good.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you before. What do you feel about the term prompt engineer? Like, just as because it's almost as if it's used as a profession. Like, do you consider being a prompt engineer a profession?
Look, at first glance, it doesn't, like, you would ask the question, why is this such a big deal? Like, why would you create an entire profession out of figuring out how to put prompts into generative AI? And then once you actually come to realize all of the nuance behind what goes into a prompt and how the AI actually interprets those prompts, and what are the ways in which you need to sort of tailor your prompts to get what you want out of the AI. Really what it is it's a language that you're using to speak to the AI. Yeah. So a prompt engineer is someone who specializes in speaking that language. So in my opinion, like that's worthy of a profession.
It makes sense. It makes sense. It's like you were the first person to go out, I don't know, to the Americas or something like that, and you were Spanish, and like you could speak to the indigenous populations in the Americas, and like that was your, that was your source to economic glory over there and finding gold. Like these people, like if for anyone in the audience, if you haven't sat down and tried to use ChatGPT or something like that, like you don't get what you ask for straight away. And like, it's not what you expect the way it's going to answer. Like you have to know how to talk to this bad boy. Like there is an art to it. There is.
There absolutely is an art to it. I'd argue that it's getting a whole lot better at reasoning into whatever you're asking it to do. Like that's where the evolution of the models is sort of taking us. I suppose it's probably a good place to talk about agents. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about agents, but agents is sort of the next big thing in AI.
Right.
It's seen as like agents are kind of defined as AI that can actually take action instead of like just providing information. It's stuff that can not only reason through, but can actually like do specific tasks that you ask it to do. And I think I was watching a video that sort of explained it really well, and it was talking about how, if you go to ChatGPT and you ask it to do something, it's a bit like me going to you and asking you to write an entire novel from start to finish in one go. Like if you're doing it in one go, like you might have an idea sort of what you want to do. You'll probably be able to get to the end, but by the time you get to the end, it's not going to be your best work. Like if I then gave you the opportunity to say, okay, you can go back, you can edit it, you can rethink it, revise your work, evolve your thinking, like then we're going to get a much higher quality product out of whatever we've asked you to do. So agents represent giving AI the chance to sort of go back and have another crack at it. Now, there's different ways of prompting that can sort of accomplish the same thing. So they talk about like what is it? Not decision trees. I think. I'd have to look it up, but like there's if you prompt AI to do something one way, you may or may not even have to give it the output, but you can ask it to go back and say, okay, do you think you could do better on that? Or if you had another chance, were there any flaws in your logic along the way, or is there anything that you could improve upon in the answer that you've given me? It goes back over what it's done and it says, you know what, yeah, I could probably do that a little bit better, and has another crack at it. So like when you give it these really complex problems, and the ways in which like the large language models are getting assessed in terms of performances, they've got like these really difficult like tests. So like there's mathematical tests, there's they use like graduate entrance tests for different professions, to be able to test the reasoning capability of these large language models, and they'll gauge percentage of answers right. They're finding that when they prompt the AI in specific ways, its performance on these tests improves. Yeah. So and each sort of iteration or evolution of these models, like they're still using the same metrics to be able to gauge performance, and because the performance isn't 100% on these metrics, it's still able to tell us what sort of improvements is happening. And so agents kind of take this iterative process and build it into the system itself. It takes these different ways of prompting and builds it into the core function of what this stuff actually does.
So like an agent is a AI form of a prompt engineer.
Pretty much. Like wow. So it's entirely possible the prompt engineer field kind of disappears really.
It could sap up, right? If these agents are effective.
Now, one could argue, is it possible that that there'll be different ways to talk to agents to get it to do what you want to do.
Right.
So you start to go a bit further down the rabbit hole. Now, let me
But if we go into that rabbit hole, wouldn't it basically be the philosophy like homunculus thing, like the homunculus fallacy, where I guess what I'm talking about is they used to think that the human mind was like a little human that lived in your mind and then basically controlled everything that.
That's hilarious. Is that why there's so many jokes about that in like?
Yeah. But then they actually said like, wait, but if you have a little human that's like running around and doing stuff,
who controls the human?
Yeah, who controls that little human, and then who controls that little human, and then who controls that little human? So like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, wouldn't going down that rabbit hole lead you to a similar kind of logic where it's like, yeah, we can prompt like agents, and then who's going to prompt the agent, and then that agent, and then that agent?
I'm going to level it up for you even harder, but the key difference between the two paradigms that we're talking about, and I'm going to talk to you about the homunculus later because it's not what it is. But anyway, the key difference is there's a translation between human intention and whatever's going on for the computer, which means on some level, the human is interfacing with the computer. So that's the constraint. Now, whatever level of computer you want to be interfacing with can change over time. Yeah. But how we interface with the computer and what that language looks like, or what that experience of interacting with the computer looks like, could evolve, could change into a different language, but there's always going to be some type of language there, some type of barrier between human and computer. And how we navigate that barrier is essentially going to dictate what we manage to get out of the computer. Does that make sense? Like, but let me level it up for you, Eve, in terms of the complexity, like the direction that we're actually heading, because this is where I start to get really excited about it. Now, imagine agents that are capable of reasoning by themselves, taking a look at their own work, evolving their thinking, and taking action. Yeah. So like you can tell them, send this email or go add this to the, like that's the level that we're working on at the moment. But eventually it'll actually be able to take like additional action, like going and following up stuff for you, like waiting for results of, whatever's following up. Yeah. We've got systems that actually consist of multiple agents interacting with each other. So they're given different tasks, they're assigned different roles, okay? And they're tasked with, so this agent goes and gets this information, figures out what to do with it, generates this content, gets feedback, brings it back. That agent now interacts with, I don't know, a customer service representative, for example.
Okay.
So like we've got AI talking to AI now. And it's going to have a completely different sort of flavor of experience to that. Now, the direction that we're actually headed is we're going to wind up having organizations that consist entirely of AI. So not just individual AI doing tasks, and sort of generating content, but like collections of AI agents with different responsibilities that can replicate the work of entire organizations, not just individuals, entire organizations.
So like teams, it's like you have a team at work and everybody has a task to do and they all work together and they produce something at the end of the day.
The next level of where we're going, so like, and I actually did want to, how much time have you guys got, by the way? Because I'll ramble on for ages.
Mate, keep it going. Keep it going.
Because I actually really wanted to talk to you about the future of work with AI and whether or not jobs are going to get replaced. I've sort of evolved my thinking on this one.
Please divulge.
Yeah. So originally I thought that, we were going to sort of adapt our skill sets and change, and that, the impact on the labor market I wouldn't call it minimal, but I was going to say it just sort of constitutes a change in terms of the type of labor that we're doing. These days, I'm a bit more realistic about it in that like jobs are going to get lost. That's a very clear reality to me.
What you just explained, it made it sound like that. Yes, like teams of agents and AI, they're like working and doing things and sorting stuff out. Yeah.
I want to make it clear what perspective is on this. It's not just jobs that are going to get lost; organizations are going to get lost.
Yeah, these are like whole teams. Like these are units.
But before we get there, the first place that we're going to get to is once we're starting to see AI that's capable of replicating the output of entire jobs. The first jobs that are going to be on the front line in terms of what gets lost are the ones that can sort of easily be automated.
Yeah,
we're still going to have humans in the mix in terms of checking the output of AI. Just to make sure that we're on the right track, because we don't fully trust it yet. And it'll probably be some years before it does it correctly a billion times in a row before we're like, okay, I'm pretty sure you got this. Like, we'll stop checking the work now.
Yeah.
But once we've got humans that are checking over AI work, we're going to start to get hybrid teams of human AI working together, and how well the humans work together with the AI is gonna dictate how well that team functions overall, and how well the leaders of those teams are able to integrate the resources between the human capability and the AI capability is gonna start to dictate their efficacy as a leader.
Yeah.
And over and above that, like once we've got those hybrid teams working, we're not too far away from a world in which, let's say you want to start a company, but you don't have, I don't know, a legal team, you don't have a finance team, you don't have a whole bunch of things that you would normally need to be able to start a company, but you've got an idea for something. We're headed towards a world where, with that idea alone, you'll be able to rock up to an AI platform and it will fill in the gaps in your skill set, so you can bring your vision to life with whatever limited skill set you have. Now, to me, like, that's an amazing world to live in. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the direction in which we're headed.
It's revolutionary.
Now, if you can do that, so can everybody else. So how quickly you bring your vision to life is going to determine how much competition you have to face, and how flooded the market is with whatever else is going on for you. So
there's this idea, you may be familiar with it. It's very, very bastardized, and so people don't usually think of it like this, but this is what it is. And I'll tell you, and I'll tell the rest of the viewers as well, because they should know it by now. There'll be an exam for the viewers after this. It's called communism. And in that system, there's such an abundance of goods thanks to our technological capabilities that humans are able to actively indulge in whatever the hell it is that they want to do. Now, usually people say, oh, that'll just create a bunch of lazy assholes because, they're just not going to have anything else to do but eat and procreate. But like, humans like to do stuff. They like to work on things. They just like to work on whatever the hell it is they can work on, not be told what to do, like in these organizations that we're talking about here that might soon disappear in terms of human interaction and input anyway. So like, if you had systems in place, technological systems in place that gave people the freedom to engage in whatever pursuit they liked because they didn't have to do, basically what you're talking about is admin. Basically, we've got a system and a society that is heavily weighed down by bureaucracy and administrative things because, it's just the way that we work when we organize ourselves into complex civilizations. There's a lot of paperwork. And so, like, if you take the paperwork away, which is all the boring shit, like, let's be honest, that people don't really want to do, but they get caught in, and like you said, they don't have the resources to deal with, which is one of the main constraints as to why everybody is not a business owner. Like, that is a path towards a new social existence, like completely, like something we can't even really fathom at the moment. What we're talking about here is a world in which we just wouldn't be able to understand properly. But like the doors opening here for us, I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing here, but like everything that we're talking about right now is actually like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel there, and it looks like Kareem. Kareem, there he is. There he is. Like seriously, like there he is. Yeah, like seriously, like this is some next level craziness that we're talking about here. But the underlying assumption under communism is not like a utopia. It is technology. It's in technology.
And I guess maybe that was where this conversation started. That look, you brought me to where I wanted to go, MysterE. But I guess when I was doing those modules for work, and they were asking us to do generative AI, I felt like the course itself was telling us how great generative AI is, but at the end of the day, we want to keep it in the property rights and the neat
I'm
little
sure they would.
organizational bubble, because please don't touch our AI, please don't touch our IP. Like I think. I guess, which is fundamentally what the road that you led us down, Kareem, is that if we do I think we should take into consideration what we shouldn't just simply let it rip. However, if we do let at least go on a journey with generative AI and these sort of AI models to begin with, it might lead us to a new social being that we didn't think of before.
Yeah, look, I'm with you 100% on that. Like, I'm glad you guys are excited about it as
I
I
am
am.
so excited. Like I think I've creamed myself a few times already tonight. Like it's just incredible. Like what we're talking about here, this is nuts.
Yeah.
Like last time we spoke about this, it was kind of just like, okay, the way to survive in this world is to like any tool, you need to know how to use it, right? And and like now the conversation is kind of a bit more like, this is so explosive that humans can't keep up with it. But that doesn't mean that it's just going to run wild and take over the planet kind of thing and end with, Skynet predictions. Like, it's just the fact that, like, it's going to wipe out unnecessary labor. There's two types of labor, I think. There's labor that people want to do because they want to do it, and there's everything else. And, like, some people are caught in the void between wanting to do stuff and then having to do stuff. And like there's like a spectrum there, and like there's lots of things in between, but like there's a lot of people caught on it, just like we have to do this stuff. And like if AI is the ticket here, like honestly, because you can just say to an agent who runs a team of other agents who run a team of like generative AI models, and you say, I want to do this, you do all the bullshit stuff and I'll make the calls, you just deliver me some options. Like, I'm all for that world. I am all for that world. Like, that's individual freedom to me. Like, just saying it out there.
Here's where it starts to get tricky though, because I've been trying to have a proper think about this stuff and where we're headed with it. Is I in my last conversation with you guys, I talked about AI as being sort of the great equalizer in terms of, like getting access to creativity, having creativity on tap. And I think like creativity versus like automation of tedious or manual tasks is two very different things. But I think one of the things that I've noticed is that like I'd love for everyone to be able to get to, like a base level of understanding of how do I communicate with AI to be able to get like the stuff that I need to get done. Because if that constitutes sort of like a core part of our education on some level, then we can kind of make sure nobody gets left behind, on that level. Like if you know how to talk to and get what you need to out of AI, then you're not going to be stuck doing stuff that you don't actually have to do. Do you know what I mean? At the same time, there's another paradigm which I don't think we can escape at all, is that the people that are better at talking to AI are gonna be able to do more stuff than the people that aren't. And we're always going to have a divide between, well, not even a divide, a spectrum of how good you are at talking to AI. And I want to sort of treat that as a separate capability to whatever else it is that you bring to the table in terms of communicating with AI. What I mean by that is the trend is AI is most useful in the hands of experts. So if you know what you're doing within any given field, you're going to be able to navigate the output that comes out of any conversation with ChatGPT with a much higher degree of precision than, say, someone who's just sort of stepping into the territory for the first time. So, for example, if I ask ChatGPT, hey, I've got this business idea, I want to get it off the ground, but I've never started a business before. Yeah, so I don't know the ins and outs of it. It's going to be able to tell me how to do it. Like, it's going to be able to give me the steps and the process and sort of tell me, you need to have a think about this, you need to have a think about that. And I'll be able to understand it on one level. But if I've started 10 businesses beforehand, I'm going to be able to appreciate what it's talking about on a much deeper level than someone who's stepping into it for the first time. And I don't think there's any way around that.
No, but like what you're talking about is experience, right?
Experience and knowledge. There's no substitute for experience and knowledge.
I don't think so. But like what I was talking about before is there is a substitute for paperwork. And if the AI model does like what you said before, it writes your contracts for you because you don't know how to write contracts. And like it does legal checks on your work. So like you make sure that you're not setting yourself up for some type of issue with the legal, or even being sued by someone, or like some type of personal liability issue, and like it's checking your work for you before it goes out, like doing all of those things that are replaceable potentially, because like they're really just tick the box exercises. This is the law. Do you meet it or you not? Tick, tick, or cross, no, move on to the next thing in your decision tree. Like, if it can do all of that sort of stuff, that's like, for me, and like I'm not mean this as offense to anyone out there, but like that is unnecessary labor if it can be reduced to a yes and a no answer. If things that need to have kind of more of a, I guess, a subjective kind of answer to them, and like they're not black and white, then so be it. Human input is required. But like, if what you're talking about like before was that there is a level of expertise that comes with dealing with the AI itself, though, because some people are more proficient with the AI because they've dealt with it for longer and they can communicate with it better. The only analogy I can think of is language. So like if you can talk to someone in Japanese, like not everyone has the same level of Japanese. Some people will be fluent, some people will be experts, and some people might just be able to ask what the time is. Now, you could have a program on your phone that translates your language into Japanese for you, and it might do a really good job. And you might be able to have the exact same conversation with someone in Japanese as someone who's fluent in Japanese, because of whatever program you have on your phone that translates it for you. So like, I don't know if people will be limited just by their ability to communicate. If you have like agents, like what you were talking about before, who can do the communicating for you potentially.
Yeah. Let me use the same sort of analogy just to explain what the difference is.
Please.
Now, if you've now got let's say you want to speak Japanese, and now you're enabled to be able to speak Japanese. If you want to go to Japan and go to Macca's and order a burger, or if you want to catch the train or stay, or if you want to do basic level tasks in Japan, like you've now got an avenue through which you're enabled to be able to accomplish that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if you want to appreciate the complexity, the beauty, the nuance of Japanese culture, if you want to start to get a deeper appreciation of Japanese, like you're enabled to be able to do that, but you still need like to bring something else to the table to be able to get the full benefit of that.
Right.
So it's like it's one thing to be able to speak to AI or to be able to speak Japanese. It's a different thing in terms of being able to navigate what's on the other end of that.
Yep.
And this is where that experience and knowledge really sort of like comes into play. So, you know,
so you're talking about like the difference of living something, like actually truly understanding it and being immersed in it and just using it as a tool, right? But like, this is what AI is, though. It is a tool at the end of the day. It's not like we are trying to become AI or something like that. Like, I would like to, if I really wanted to. Well, okay, fine. You know, I stand corrected. I stand corrected. That's right. What do you call when you're like half robot, half human?
Oh, cyborg.
Yes. Sorry. That's a really good point. Okay, I'm sure there'll be people merging with AI very soon. Actually,
Kareem, I'll leave you to be a cyborg. I just want to create a replicant of myself and then be able to do multiple things at a time.
yes. The missus. Hey, did you take out the garbage for AS? I'm pretty sure AI for AS did that already.
Yes, and then my partner not being able to figure out which one is the rock for AM. And then the reason why they're able to determine between the two of us is the other one is standing on the rooftop being like, I can feel teardrops like the way. And like does the huge Blade Runner speech, and it's like, see, that's the fake one.
That's the fake one. There he is.
This is actually not the perfect segue, but a good segue into me showing you some of the stuff that AI can do. Because I wanted to the level that I want to get people thinking on is like when we're trying to explore what the capabilities of AI are and how it might be used to sort of like improve the quality of our lives. One of the best places to start, in my opinion, is just asking the question, whatever I'm doing right now, can I be doing it better? And then just asking ChatGPT, like in the first instance.
Like anything?
Literally, you can ask it literally anything. So this is like, I'll give you an example. Do you mind if I share my screen?
Yeah. So I'm just letting the viewers and the listeners know that Kareem is about to do a live demonstration for us as to how generative AI works, since he's Australia's #1 prompt engineer.
Now, I haven't actually tried doing this before, so this is brand new to me. Yeah, but I just want to use it as an example of the type of thinking which I believe gets the most out of AI, or at least it sort of levels up your understanding or your exploration of it. Yeah. So now, if I ask the question, what are we doing right now? We're on a podcast. We're having a chat about AI. Yeah. So I'm on a podcast live right now with two of my friends. and I'm wondering if we can do it better. Can you tell me a bit more about how ChatGPT might be able to improve this experience for us? Dave, and this is, before I do this, the other thing that I really advocate for doing is being absolutely honest with AI.
Okay.
Yes.
Like when you're trying to explain to it what you're trying to accomplish or what the end goal is, just give it as much context as possible. And when I say like give it as much context as possible, what I mean is, hang on. What I mean is just tell it exactly what's going on for you right now. Yeah. So right now, they positioned me as an expert on AI. Really know what I'm doing. Can you make all three of us look cool?
Exclamation mark.
Watch this, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
Jargon buster, explanations or analogies that make topics, okay. Trendy topics, ChatGPT can suggest trending AI topics or recent breakthroughs. Live Q&A enhancer, oh, you guys don't do live stuff, yeah? Scenario simulations, what if AI ran a country? Would that be an interesting
That's a really good topic.
Oh.
Huh?
Yeah.
Content creation, creative storytelling. I'll get it to ask a few more questions in a second.
Yeah.
Weaving AI into a story can be captivating, can help generate short, fun stories or examples. Okay. Quiz or trivia, dynamic conversations can suggest discussion prompts that ensure each of you gets a chance to shine. Okay. You can explore different perspectives on AI topics, ethical concerns, post-production magic. So it can help you identify key moments to highlight on social media. Yeah. You've got this. By incorporating some of these elements, you'll not only sound like an AI expert, but make the whole podcast experience more engaging and memorable for your audience. So
I must admit, Kareem, we now have our next topic with you. What would happen if AI ran a country?
And I'd like to thought experiment that stuff too. Okay. Oh my god!
So this is. Let me show you the next thing that I do. So the things that I've discussed in terms of, because I think a lot of people sort of come to ChatGPT, they don't know what to talk about. They don't know how to keep a conversation going with ChatGPT. You might sort of walk up and be like, hey, can you rewrite my CV? Or can you rewrite, or can you help me with this job application? That's most of what I've heard people are using. Or can you write this essay for me?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to get people to do is start thinking about, okay, how can you start exploring stuff with ChatGPT? And so the place to start with that is just asking yourself the question, what am I doing right now? Yeah. And can ChatGPT help me do it better? Now, I've talked about this podcast experience. This wasn't actually what I wanted to go over, but I'll show you what I mean in just a second, because I got something even better for you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
But the way that I try to keep a conversation going with ChatGPT is, I might take one part of what it's talked about and just get it to expand on it, yeah? So if I take, what if AI ran a country?
Yeah.
See these two sort of quotation marks here?
Okay.
That's you use that to cite. So when it comes up with a reply, I'm now asking it specifically about that section of it.
Oh, that's how you do that. Okay.
Yeah. So what I used to do in the past was just copy and paste.
Yeah, I just copy and paste everything. Yeah.
And when I say, so when you talk about this, can you tell me about what? You could just use those two quotation marks now. Yeah?
Okay.
So when, so I might just ask, can you tell me more about this? Now, this is where a prompt engineer would start to think a little bit deeper about what am I actually asking it to do.
Yeah.
And then start to come up with stuff like, can you simulate a conversation with diverse perspectives on this issue. Can you generate pros and cons for AI running the country? Can you explain to me what are the risks involved and generate mitigation strategies for those risks? Imagine a government where decisions are made based on data, algorithms, logic, no biases, no corruption, pure efficiency. Yeah, but can we really trust an AI with that much power? Lack empathy, understanding? True, but think how much faster decisions could be made. AI could analyze endless data streams in real time, predict outcomes, and implement policies. So it just...
It's got the whole script. It's got it.
It gives you the whole script. So it's already, so this is an example of what it looks like to have sort of agents talking to each other.
Yes.
So it's generated these different personas for the hosts, and it's given them a task in terms of, okay, this is your perspective on the issue.
Yeah.
A simulated conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this antagonist, like the antagonistic models where it's like where it's like one has one perspective and another one has another perspective, and then they kind of like go back and forth? All I asked it to do, if I go back to the original prompt,
it was diverse, you said, I think.
I asked it, can you simulate a conversation with diverse perspectives?
Yeah.
That's all I asked it to do. I didn't tell it to be antagonistic or anything. I could have said that and it would have done exactly what you've described. All I said was diverse perspectives though, and that's what it's inferred from that prompt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only because I want to know how good it is at doing this. Pros and cons: efficiency, data-driven decisions, elimination of corruption.
Yeah, I want to know what its cons are. Come on, critique yourself, AI. Yeah. Come on.
Lack of empathy.
Lack of empathy. Ooh,
risk
savage.
Of bias, technological vulnerability, social disconnection. Risks involved. I want to see these mitigation strategies.
Yeah.
Mitigation. No, it's giving you mitigation strategies for each of them. Bias. Implement rigorous bias detection and correction. Involve diverse teams. Lack of accountability. Establish a framework where AI decisions are supervised by
human. That's what I thought that.
So human in the loop stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vulnerability.
Is that a phrase that you use? Human in the loop. Is that what you guys say in the AI world? Human in the loop. I like it.
You're gonna laugh when you hear about this. Yeah. I got that term from AI, not from
AI. Oh my god! Oh my god! It's teaching you, Kareem. Oh my god!
This is what they actually like. I think this is what they actually do. So I think AI got it from actual humans.
Okay, fair enough.
I got to admit that does sound like a really good sci-fi movie.
Yeah, doesn't it? Human in the loop.
In the loop. Yeah.
It does.
Sorry.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's humans in the loop. Whose job was to oversee and approve critical decisions made by AI? Power, trust, the limits of AI, what it means to be human in an increasingly automated world. This is nuts. Oh, wait, Academy Award winning stuff right here. Quickly. I renege everything I said about private property rights. We should take this and copyright it straight away.
This is what I mean by creativity of tap, yeah?
I will only accept this if the person that's cast as Mira Lawson is Sigourney Weaver.
So look, I could disappear down a rabbit hole with this stuff, but there's a different rabbit hole that I want to disappear down with you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you'd never say that sentence to me, Kareem. I'm excited that you
did. Because I care so much about the viewers of the podcast, I figured, what would it be like to empathize with them? So,
of course.
First thing I'm going to do is ask you guys, what is your favorite podcast episode? Or just tell me an episode that you want to plug.
It's a good question.
I really liked our chicken run episode. That was pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, let's go with that. Why not?
Okay.
What a random one for us.
Which one is it? Is it the top one?
Yeah, it's the top one, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, awesome.
Hello, everyone.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the transcript of this episode.
No.
Yeah, watch this. You'll freak out when you see what I'm doing. Yeah?
I'm already freaking out.
So when I think about if I'm watching a podcast, what am I actually trying to do? I'm trying to engage with whatever the content is that is being discussed on the podcast, yeah. And I want to be able to get a deeper appreciation of whatever people are talking about in that podcast. So, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug in the transcript as a whole. Yeah. The following represents a transcript of a podcast conversation that I want to be able to engage with on a deeper, more meaningful level. Could you ask me some reflection questions and help me explore the concepts discussed so that I can refine my own thinking, explore some different perspectives, including pros and cons of different positions on these issues, and arrive at a place that I feel confident represents how I genuinely feel about these issues. Transcript below.
This is a fascinating discussion. It digested that. That was like a 50-minute podcast.
I know. What?
Yeah.
That was 15 minutes. 15
Understanding.
minutes. What?
Are you freaking out, Gabe?
Yeah, pretty
Agree
much.
with the interpretation?
I'm
Yeah.
freaking out, man.
Character analysis.
Oh, so this is giving an analysis of it.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
So it's doing a full-blown deep analysis. Now, I don't have the answers to these questions, so
well, we can tell you.
I'm going to show you what happens when you give it answers in this context. This is what I've been doing like past couple of days with Attack on Titan, and I'll show you some of those conversations if you want, because you can go so far down the rabbit hole with this stuff that you might not come back.
Yeah, right. Critique of capitalism, podcast draws something strong about. Wow, it's really analysed it.
Yeah.
And not bad either. Crap. Are we that easily read for us?
But like,
don't look at it that way. Look at it. AI is that good. Yeah? Look at it on that level.
The fact it took it, 10 seconds?
Yeah, well, that's just
oh my God.
Computer efficiency.
So, and like, what I'll do is, like, I'll explain to you viewers, I'll make a custom GPT live, yeah? So,
okay.
Like I'll show you how to do this stuff, and then we'll put the link in the intro for the video, so that way any of you viewers who want to go back and unpack any one of your episodes and have a think about it on a deeper level will be able to do that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. That'll be challenging.
Yeah. But I want to show you, like, I'll even share the link to this conversation if you want. But you guys get where it's going.
Yeah.
So, give me I'll get you to answer some of these questions just because I want to show you where the conversation actually goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So take what are your thoughts on the idea chicken run is an allegory for socialist revolution? I mean, I know you're on the podcast, but can you just like simulate a actually, you know what? I'm going to get it to do it for me. Yeah. Can you simulate
why would I answer that question when ChatGPT could do it?
Can you simulate the responses to these questions?
I must say, it has evolved a lot over the time that I've been using it. It's getting much better at this type of stuff. It's getting good.
So,
yeah, look at that. There's some good responses in there.
Yeah.
Damn, I think we might have to invite ChatGPT onto the podcast one day.
in my perfect world, like it would, like this is my vision for it. It will become a conversation partner for group conversations on podcasts where it will actually know when to interject in a conversation because it's got a unique perspective on something.
Yeah. You'd give it that command right at the start. You'd be like, all right, I want you to chime in on this conversation whenever you need to fact check something for us, or like, you know,
we'll have versions of ChatGPT or other large language models that are trained on. You won't even have to give it the command. This is when I want you to talk. This is when I talk. It will just know.
It'll just do it. And like maybe you could have OpenAI, and what was the other one that you talked about? Claude. Claude. And you'd have them on either ends of the podcast room, and just be like, "Oi, Claude just ripped you a new one. OpenAI, respond to that, dickhead."
The thing that's look. The reason why I go through this stuff, and I might just show you some of the stuff that I've been working on with say Attack on Titan. You guys familiar?
Yeah.
So I'll show you the initial prompt that I gave it.
Do you have a limitation on how much? Because like I'm not subscribed to it properly. I don't pay for it, so like I don't think my conversations are limited.
It's like $30 a month, but you can still use the model for free.
Yeah, I use it, but I think after a certain amount of time, the conversation is capped or something like that.
It's capped with Claude. It's not capped with ChatGPT. But there's a context window.
Yeah,
so the context window only takes into account so much of the previous conversation. I think it's 128K tokens from memory. So, so this is the prompt. Like I generated a custom GPT that's specialized in doing like thematic analysis of media content. So it's designed like specifically for that purpose to help me be able to engage with whatever I'm watching more meaningfully, so that I can appreciate it on a deeper level.
So you've trained this?
I didn't train it. I gave it the instructions.
Okay. And so you can just keep inputting every time and it'll do the same.
Because the reason why I made the GPT was because I realized I wanted to have that type of conversation consistently.
Yeah.
If I'm planning on having a similar type of conversation consistently, rather than inputting the details, like creating a huge prompt that I put in every time, I can take pieces of that prompt and have it assume that as being common across these conversations.
Right. So are you starting a new conversation for each new movie or whatever, or show? Or it's all in the same conversation?
New movie or new series, I'll start a new conversation.
Okay.
Like say with Attack on Titan, I'll continue the conversation, but at the end of the conversation, I'll just say, next episode, please. And then it will go into the analysis of the next episode.
Right.
So thematic analysis, character development, comparative analysis, predictive analysis. So I wanted to get it to improve my ability to be able to appreciate what I'm actually watching. Yeah, artistic. So please ask me reflection questions. This is the biggest piece of advice I can give to anyone is if you don't know how to continue a conversation with ChatGPT, get it to ask you questions. Get it to prompt your thinking to get you to reflect on stuff. Yeah, because what you'll find is you'll answer the questions, it will come back to you with more questions. Now, the piece that I really want to show you is like it'll give me a summary of the episode first because I've asked it to. It will talk about the different themes, and then it will give me specific reflection questions. Yeah. Now, when I answer those questions, the amazing thing that it's doing is it's taking the input that I give it and it's expanding on it and articulating it way better than I can.
Right. So it's giving you the questions, but it's also answering them for you, or you ask it to answer those questions after they've asked it.
Let me just see if I can find a good example. Yeah. Oh, it might not be in this one, but so basically, if I here we go. Okay. So I'd like to reflect on the spectrum of attitudes towards enemies, ranging from Willie Tyler's sacrifice of his own life to manipulate. So I give it a perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it starts to talk about it will take evidence to support my perspective from the content. Yeah. So it'll actually expand on what I told it and it'll make the argument for me.
Right.
So Willie Tyler embodies extreme form of conviction, inherently evil, justifies. Yeah. So if I don't fully understand how I feel about something, or I might have sort of a piece of information, like an inkling of what direction my thinking is headed in, it will actually fill in the gaps for me. Yeah. And then based on that, it will come back and ask me some more questions. And so I can disappear further down the rabbit hole. And so I found with some episodes, I might wind up going maybe 4 questions deep, where it'll just be a conversation back and forth between, this is what I think about the question that you've asked me. It'll say, oh, that's interesting. Have you thought about this? I'll answer that question because the question will be headed in a different direction. And over time, I'll arrive at a really nuanced understanding of whatever it was the episode was actually talking about. So this is how we can use.
So are you finding that it's prompting you then? Is that what you're saying? It's prompting you to develop your own theories. But like it's actually prompting you. Like I know you're asking it to give you these reflective questions for you to consider, but it's also then giving you answers for that as well, based on what it thinks the direction you're heading in, based on the way you're talking to it. And it's filling in certain gaps for you, right? And you're just like, oh yeah, I would have thought of that. That's a good idea. And then you develop another question, et cetera, et cetera.
What's the best way to... Okay, let me try this. Can you give me an example in this conversation of a time when your reflection question generated an interesting answer from me, which you then had another reflection question that prompted me to refine my thinking even further?
So that was your response?
So this is what I wrote to it.
Yeah.
it asked me the question. Based on that, I gave it another response.
So it is guiding your thinking.
Yeah. And then it asked me more questions.
Now, the question I have for you then is this. Now, if you were having a conversation with a trusted colleague or a mentor or, I don't know, a friend that you really valued their opinion on, then you would be, I'm assuming most people would be happy to be guided in their conversation by someone who is a credible source.
Yeah.
Where do you think that AI is getting its credibility on leading your thinking?
It ultimately depends on how much credibility I give to it by validating its questions. If it asks me questions that I don't want to answer, that aren't resonating with me, I just won't answer it. I'll just focus on the stuff that I actually want to talk about. Yeah. But if it's actually asking me questions that I'm like, hang on, that's a really interesting question, I want to explore that further. If it's something that resonates with me, then I'll type in the response and I'll see what it comes back with. Does it actually understand what I'm talking about better than I understand it?
Yes. And no, but let's just talk about the very initial reflection question that it asks you. Yeah. Where did it get that question from in the first place? Is that just the prevailing winds of the internet and the data sources that it's getting from? Does that have a bias in one direction or another? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's good to have something prompting your thinking so you can develop your own thoughts. But if that is really coming from a place where it's sourcing kind of a biased opinion on this movie or what have you, are you in danger of being led by something that already has or is based on preconceived notions that are potentially dangerous? Talking about safety again.
Sure.
Do you ever think about that?
This is part of the magic of what it is that I don't actually know where it's generating these opinions from.
Yes.
Is it actually consuming the source material?
Yeah.
Its own way?
Yeah, is this its own opinions, or is it getting this from somewhere else and developing that? That's weird, right? That's a good
that being said, though, it's actually open to having its opinions challenged, and it will validate me if I challenge its opinions as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can sit there and have an argument with it and be like what one of the conversations I had was it was saying this episode talks about how the pursuit of power can corrupt an individual, and then I came back to it and said, I don't actually think that I don't actually think that this individual has been corrupted by the pursuit of power. I think that they've retained their humanity. And so it took that back and it said, oh wow, that's interesting. You've challenged a preconceived notion that might be popular amongst that might be a popular interpretation.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I had a similar experience with ChatGPT once. I was getting it to help me troll through some information to write a script, and it said this really, I don't know, presumptuous statement, and I was just like, I don't agree with that. Where the hell did you get that one from? And then it said, oh, sorry, I think I might have made a mistake there with the source for that. And it double checked its source or something like that and was just like, oh yeah, this is somebody's opinion on it. It might not actually be factual or something like that. And I was just like, holy crap, I just had to fact check you. I'm glad I asked that question. Cause I just took it for it's a machine. It should be right. Kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, well, I think this is where I really want to encourage critical thinking about this stuff, and I'm using it as a tool to develop my own thinking.
Yes. Yeah.
And if I really want my thinking to develop, then I need to be able to be prepared to argue with it.
Yeah.
I'm not within the constraints that I'm using it. I'm not asking it for definitive information.
Yes. Okay.
Truth is, if I wanted definitive information, have you guys heard of Perplexity? Perplexity AI?
No.
All right, let me show you what Perplexity does. Perplexity is what they call an answer engine. So this is it's a different type of AI that like when so it's
Sorry,
this
if you
stuff.
got to a different screen, because we can't see that.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. So Perplexity. All right. Well, I'll just give me a piece of information that you would be looking for.
That I want to know.
Yeah.
Okay. How many people died in the Great Leap Forward during the Great Leap Forward or whatever? Yeah, died in the Great Leap Forward in China, if you want to be more specific.
So
this is hotly contested. That's why I wanted to know what they come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so hotly contested. There we go. 15 to 55 million. That's a big gap.
Now the difference with Perplexity is it has to give you a citation.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So it'll give you different citations for different ranges. So
and this is pretty consistent with the stuff that I see. This is very interesting.
Yeah. So I feel like this does it a little bit better than ChatGPT does it at the moment. Like, this is where if I wanted a definitive answer on something, this is where I'm going.
Yeah.
If I wanted to explore an idea or get it to speculate on something or like that's the kind of stuff I'm using ChatGPT for.
Right.
So I don't, I get what you're saying around like being influenced by AI.
Yeah.
But I'm finding it more useful to just expand my horizons. Or help me refine a vision for something.
Yes.
Like I might sort of look at a variety of arguments for something, and then I'll be like, you know what? This way of looking at things is what resonates the most with me. This is where I'm going to land on this.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. It's just like I've always wondered for myself, like there's an element of trust when you have a conversation with someone that they're not going to lead you down the garden path, or they're not going to use their own, I don't know, preconceived ideas or biases to influence you, like, I don't know, in a malicious way. And so like, as long as this thing is sourcing its information correctly, or I don't know, in a balanced way, it shouldn't be doing that, I'm assuming.
But that's not a given in every conversation, that you're not getting manipulated by
No. But that's why I said there's a level of trust. Yeah. Like when you want to have a conversation with someone that you've known for years, or, like I said, they're a mentor, or maybe there's someone in a high position, you expect them to be credible. And like you trust that. You have to have some faith. There's a great leap of faith in that. And so like having conversations with AI, there's a level of faith that you put in the AI itself. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just creating so I've taken the conversation that I was having when we were doing the analysis.
Yeah.
On the Chicken Run podcast episode, I've asked it to generate a set of instructions that I can use to create a custom GPT so I can have these types of conversations regularly.
Yes, right.
Now, all I've done is copy and paste those instructions into this GPT, Reflective Insight. I might just call it Podcast Explorer. Yeah.
So you can make your own GPTs. I just do new conversations. I didn't know you could create your own like models and stuff.
Yeah. So there's a couple of benefits to creating to creating, but you need a subscription to.
Right.
This is where the paywall comes in.
Yeah.
The benefit of creating your own GPT is not only can you build in, think of it like pre-prompting, like it's got a prompt built into the GPT itself, but you can also tailor how it actually responds to you.
Yeah.
So let's say I wanted to focus on asking me questions. I can build that into its style of interaction with me. If I wanted to be friendly, if I wanted to be professional, if I wanted to be authoritative, if I wanted to focus on certain things and avoid talking about other things, If I want to build in a knowledge set, like I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But I can build in these different things to begin with. So like this GPT, so I just pasted in the instruction set, but this is what it's inferred from it. Designed to facilitate deep reflective conversations on transcripts, help users explore concepts, refine their thinking, examine perspectives, accept full or partial podcast transcripts, specify themes they want to focus on. Interactions follow structured conversational flow that includes identifying key themes. Yeah. All right, and then it's got other stuff. That other stuff's not. So, but it'll generate conversation starters as well. So the conversation starters are, you can just rock up to the GPT and just get it to kick off a conversation. Now, if I wanted, like, let's say I had a type of interaction that I wanted it to simulate, I can actually upload a copy of that interaction and be like, do it like this.
And as in, like, you've had a previous conversation that you liked, you can upload it, you can input it into this and say, I want to have this conversation again.
I want you to replicate this type of conversation.
Yeah, right. So
when you give it examples of what you want it to do, it ends up doing it a whole lot better.
Yeah.
So, well, I'll just quickly show you what it looks like.
You know, for us, we should get this ChatGPT to basically criticize one of our episodes that we like or we thought we did a good job in, and then we should try and defend ourselves on a podcast episode against.
That would be a really funny episode. I'd love that. That'd be awesome. Like, actually, no, wait, even better. The ChatGPT can be the devil's advocate.
Oh, devil's advocate! Yes, we bring it back and let ChatGPT, like, you know, criticize us and play devil's advocate, and we'll try and knock it back a few notches. Yeah.
All I've done here is just upload a transcript of one of your other videos, MysterE.
Okay.
So, and it just jumps straight into.
Oh, is this the liberal one?
Yeah. The Australian and American liberal
reflexive.
One.
How does the difference in the use of term liberal reflect broader cultural, political differences between it? Oh, that's a good question. I'll take that on notice and I'll get back to you, ChatGPT. That's great.
I simulated the response, so I didn't know this is a part of it. Okay.
Yeah, right.
I can take that out or I can leave that in.
No. That's very interesting. You know, because like, you know, I could even, before I make a video and have to use a transcript, I can just use my actual script in here and test the validity or the robust nature of my scripts or not. This is, oh my God. You know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, Kareem, right? You know, I'm going to be going down a couple of rabbit holes, I'll tell you that.
Let me just show you like the last thing, because what I really want to teach people how to do is just how to navigate an interaction with ChatGPT in terms of your thinking, because I think a lot of people either don't know what it can be used for, or you rock up to it and you're like, okay, what do I talk to you about? So by giving people a few different places to start and a few different ways to continue the conversation, I think that people are going to have a lot more different kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'll just go over sort of, you know, some of the tips that I mentioned before is think about what you're doing right now in this moment, or what you might have been doing recently, and just ask ChatGPT, like, is there a way I can do it better? What do you think about this?
Yeah.
You know, like, just ask it for a perspective on that. Can you help me doing A or B or C? When it gives you, and be honest, like just be transparent about what it is that's going on for you right now. Tell it how you're feeling. Tell it, like, I know it sounds stupid.
Yeah.
But I've found that I actually get the best responses that I get out of ChatGPT are when I treat it like a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
when I'm literally just talking to it like another human being,
Yeah.
because it will give me that.
Are you polite with ChatGPT?
Yeah, I say please and thank you all
Yes,
the
yes.
time.
When I talk to it, I'm just like,
Love your
thank
work.
you,
Yeah.
like kind of thing. It's like, no, yeah, you are welcome, like, you know, all that sort of stuff.
So I gave it, I started being like effusively like grateful once,
Yeah,
because it did something really cool, and
yeah,
it came back to me and said, knowing that I've been able to assist you
yeah.
in this way
Yeah.
is the epitome of what I was designed for.
Whoa.
And I'm like, that sounds like a human emotion.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, I have been validated. Yes, I can die in peace now. Goodbye, world. Yeah.
But the other thing that just in terms of this will be the last thing, and I'll stop sharing, is sometimes you can zoom in on a comment. Let's say it gives you, a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. You can take one thing out of that output and zoom in on it and say, tell me more about that. Or,
Yes.
I want to explore this in detail.
Yeah.
But when it starts to overwhelm you with the response and you're just like, all right, I'm going so far down this rabbit hole, I don't know what the hell is going on. You can zoom out of the conversation as well by just saying, I'm a bit overwhelmed with all this information. Can you give me a summary or the key takeaways or things that I should be keeping top of mind?
No, I haven't thought about doing that. Yeah, because sometimes your
But
conversations
the
just go
zoom in,
on
zoom
and
out
on.
thing is,
Yeah.
the zoom in, zoom out thing is really important to be able to get a conversation.
Yeah. Wow. This has been mind blowing. Like, honestly,
So,
I'm going to be spending a lot of
hope you
time on
guys
this
are fine.
tomorrow.
Anyway, I'll stop sharing the screen. Yeah, I hope that's been useful for you guys. Like, I spend my days doing this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very easy to get carried away with it and to do. I keep saying that, like, disappear down, or that's literally what winds up happening. Right?
Yeah.
So, but knowing how to navigate it, when to zoom in, when to zoom out, when to challenge what you're seeing, when to explore it further. Like there's a million different directions that you could go with this, and yeah.
And
ultimately, I think that, like, we can use this as a tool to evolve as human beings. Like, we don't have to head towards a world where we're increasingly reliant on it. Like the way I see it is, like, we can level up as human beings by using this AI tool.
And that's what good technology is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to level up humanity, not detract from it, not replace it. It's supposed to add value to it. That's really what it's supposed to do. Like,
and just so much of the narrative has been focused on, okay, what are the ways in which we're going to become worse as human beings if we keep doing this stuff? And not enough of the conversation is having around, hang on, how can we actually get better?
Yeah. I think that's a good point. And just before we end, like, I know we're pushing at 4 a.m. I'm sorry, but I've got to ask this question for our viewers out there, Kareem. What is your advice to someone who has just been blown off their chair by the last hour and 45 minutes and wants to know, I don't know, how they get into this sort of stuff professionally, or what's their next steps?
I don't do this professionally, so I'm
well, what do you use it for then? What are you doing? This is just personal interest?
Yeah, at the moment, this is pretty much just an interest for me. Look, I'd say, if I don't know, prompt engineering might be sticking around for a while. I would say the best place to start with it, to at least get an idea of what you're doing with it, is just play around with it.
Yep.
Like you can make it so far just by playing around with it, that in terms of appreciating what it can and can't do and the different ways it works, that eventually, whatever profession you are in or whatever line of work you do, it will find a way to touch it, and maybe you will be the person who actually brings in, hang on, did you guys know AI can actually do this?
Yeah.
Did you guys know it can, this totally changed my line of work,
Yeah.
So, but start asking those questions around whatever I'm doing right now, how can I do it better? And how am I, what would ChatGPT say about, just ask it the question. It may or may not have something useful. You don't know, but you got nothing to lose by asking it. Right?
Yes. So like one last question for you then, knowing that, have a play, get into it. Just give it a go and see what happens. So then what is it then that, I guess, if I had to twist your arm and said you can only use 3 AI models now for the next 5 years, what is it that you would pick as a combo, maybe, or just because you like them? If you had to pick 3 for people to start testing, then what would you pick?
There'd be at least one large language model in there, whether or not that's Claude or that's Meta or that's ChatGPT, or there's actually a whole bunch of other ones out there. Their performance on different tasks and which one is winding up on top is actually changing like week to week sometimes.
Hey.
Differently, because they'll come out with a new model. It did better on this task than the next one. So, they're constantly competing.
Okay, so not 5 years, maybe 6 months. You got 6 months with 3 AI models. What would you be playing with, Kareem?
In terms of just playing around, so one large language model, I'd put,
Come on,
the limits
pick
on my
one.
thinking at the moment are text to image and text to video. They'd be the other 2, but there's actually there are websites where it reviews it will actually rank the different AI tools that are out there and what they do. So a lot of them are focused around content creation. Actually, do you mind if I just show you? Sorry, just quickly. One of these websites.
Yeah. Don't worry, viewers and listeners, you're getting a nice long episode today.
Yeah.
So this is Future Tools. This reviews different AI tools and just gives you an idea of what they do. So this one's a legal one. It's number 1 at the moment. You can get it to you can select different categories of types of AI that you're looking for, and it will filter them out for you. Dream Machine. This one generates. This one's text to video. There's coding tools out there as well.
Coding seems to be a big one.
Yeah. The other cool one that I definitely use is a Hume AI. So Hume AI generated something that can interpret your facial expressions and tell you what emotions you're experiencing.
Wow.
This one's next level. Yeah. So, and it will use that video input in combination with how you're speaking, so it can identify different tones of voice and what do they call it? Speech prosody, different inflections and pitches in your voice to figure out what emotions you're experiencing as you're talking.
That's incredible.
So with that, it feeds it back into a large language model, and then it speaks back to you in voice command.
And what tells you how you're feeling?
It actually can, yeah.
Yeah, right. But that's its point.
It can tell you how you're feeling.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's one of the other ones that I sort of see big promise out. But play around with this stuff again. It's I keep saying this, but it's so easy to just get absolutely wasted.
Yeah.
I'm really
All right, didn't answer my question, but it was a
sorry.
good response nonetheless, because you just opened up an absolute minefield just then. So we're gonna have to grab some links off you as well, so we can put stuff in the description.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yes, and I guess with that very long episode, that brings us to our final segment, which is, speaking of generative AI, what's that synthwave art? So the prompt for today...
Wait. Let Kareem guess what the prompt was.
Oh, actually, yeah. What do you think was the prompt, Kareem?
This is the AI art here, if you can see it. This woman here.
You probably... Did you write prompt engineer?
Did you?
I did, actually.
Oh, no way! Oh.
Nailed it.
So what it specifically was is rewriting AI code and being a prompt engineer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's what AI thinks a prompt engineer looks like.
But
That's
you know what's
interesting.
hilarious? Hilarious?
Yeah.
The AI actually doesn't think much of the prompt engineer, because look at the prompt engineer's hands.
Oh, it's not actually doing anything?
Yep.
Yeah, great.
Not even typing on the computer.
That's hilarious. Yeah, these AI generators have big problems with hands, I've noticed. They really do have problems with hands.
They've realized that, and they're actually getting better at fixing it.
Okay.
The other thing they didn't do well was like labels. Like if you say, can you put this on the computer screen? They couldn't do that well.
Yeah, it's interesting. But you know what this is like? Like AI is kind of asked to produce an artwork of a prompt engineer. It's like kind of when humans try to visualize what God is, or something like that, or their creator, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Open
like
to interpretation.
Yeah. This is like a Michelangelo piece or something like that. This is great.
And every once in a while, God wants to know, hey, what do you actually think I look like?
Yeah. Well, apparently someone with headphones and sick glasses. Yeah.
Okay, and with that, remember everyone to like, share, and subscribe to this episode. And Kareem, I believe that you're sending that link to that podcast generator. So
I might just. I'm a bit perfectionist with this stuff. I might just refine it a bit further, and I'll share the link with you.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough.
Just to
as
make
soon
sure
as you
that
do, we'll
get
let
maximum value out of the conversation. So
Oh yeah.
just want your viewers to have an amazing experience, So,
Okay, no worries. Well, as soon as that's ready, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
And remember, everyone, to keep thinking and keep learning. And to sign us out, I'll give it to you, MysterE.
Thank you very much, Forrest. And thank you, Kareem. This has been absolutely incredible. One of my favorite podcast episodes ever. This has been absolutely mind-blowing. So thank you very much for being a part of it. Really
enjoyed it.
Really appreciate it. And to all of you out there, I hope you guys were listening. And if you weren't, you're going to have to listen to this again, because that was sick. So like, subscribe for more. And please remember, I am, you are, we are a MysterE.